Hey guys, it's Miss Tiffany. Going to work on your math sheets for this week. And this week we're going to be working on time and reading graphs. And y'all have to bear with me. I'm going to do it on my iPad, so I'll be able to mark with you all. Okay, so the first question reads, let me get it set up to where we can mark on it if needed. Okay, so Mary Beth is going to work, and she's going to work and she needs to be there at 8 a.m. So what we have to do is we have to draw the hands on the clock. Well, our little hand is always the hour hand. So we know that the hour is 8 o'clock. So we're going to draw a little hand pointing towards the 8. Okay, and our big hand is our minute hand. And if it's o'clock, which is 00, then that means it's always going to be on the 12. So we're going to draw our big hand up here towards the 12. Miss Tiffany kind of covered it. Okay, so that's something similar to what your clock should look like. Okay, now we're going to go down here to the second question. It says Mary Beth takes a break from work at 10 a.m. So the hour is 10, which that's going to be right here. It's going to be the first number. 10, so we're going to draw a little hand to the 10. And then it's o'clock, 00. So that means we got to go up to the 12. Okay, so you're going to have a little hand, which is your hour, and that's always going to be the first number. And then you're going to have a big hand is your minute hand, and that's going to be on the other side of your colon. Okay. And now we're going to go down here to this bottom question. Okay, it says Mary Beth leaves for work at 2:30 p.m. Okay, so we have to, this one's going to be a little bit different, but we know that the hour is 2. So we're still going to draw our little hand pointing close enough to the 2. And now it's not 00, it's not o'clock, it's 30. So what we have to do is we have to come around to this clock. We know that this is 0, and the clock goes by 5s. So 1 is going to be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So we're actually going to draw our big hand down to the 6. And that clock reads 2:30. So this is what your paper should look like. Okay, and let's move on to, let's move on to the next one. Once again, we're working on time. And this one reads, Randy is at his job at the clothing store. He has a meeting to go to. His meeting starts at, and we have to read the clock and write the time. So let's get close up on the clock. Okay. The little hand is not pointing on the 2 right now. So it's technically still 1. So over here we're going to write our 1. And let's not forget our colon. And now we have to find out what our minute hand is pointing to. So we have to count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So his meeting starts at 1:45. So The 45 is going to go on the other side of your colon. Okay, and now we're going to find out when his meeting ends. Randy's meeting ends at, okay, what's the little hand pointing to? The little hand is pointing right on the 3. So we're going to write our 3. Let's not forget our colon. And the big hand is pointing right on the 12. And remember, 12 is your double zero. So we're going to come over here and we're going to write our 2 zeros. So that means his meeting ends at 3 o'clock. Okay, now let's go down here to the last one. It says Randy finishes work for the day at, okay, so the little hand is not pointing at the 5, so it's between the 4 and the 5. So that means it's still within the 4 o'clock hour. So we're going to come over here and write our 4. And then we have to find out what our minutes is on. It's actually pointing to the 6. Does anyone remember what it means when the clock is pointing to the 6? We're going to count and find out. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So when the big hand is pointing down to the 6, that means it is the 30-minute mark. So we're going to come over here and write hour 30. Okay, so this is what your paper should look like. And it's important for you all to know how to tell time. It's going to keep you all on a schedule, and you'll just kind of know what time of day it is. And I know it's really easy to read a digital clock, but it's also important for you all to know how to read an analog clock. Okay. We're going to move on to the next sheet. Oh. Okay, this is Wednesday's worksheet. Excuse me, Miss Tiffany's allergies are bothering her today. Just bear with me. Okay, so now on this sheet, we are going to be putting the time on the clock, like showing the time on the clock. And then we have to know what time of day it is, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. So let's find out what we actually have to draw on the clock. Let's start with the clock first, okay? And the first question reads, Brent is starting his shift at the bakery at 11:30 a.m. Show this time on the clock. Okay, so your hour is 11. So we need to make a little hand pointing towards, oh goodness, Miss Tiffany messed that all up. Pointing towards the 11. And then it's the 30. So we got to make sure that we get it on the 30-minute mark with our big hand. So let's count. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So my big hand is going to go down on the 6. Maybe. Woo! Let's try that again. All right. So your clock's going to look something like that. Miss Tiffany's arrows are a little crazy. Okay. So now we have to work on this, and this is going to tell us what time of day it is. Okay, anytime it says AM, that is going to be in the morning hours. Okay, so for this one, we can go ahead and circle morning because it says AM. And usually anything before 12 o'clock is AM. Well, not usually, it is. It's AM. Okay, so let's go down to our second question, and it says Brent greets customers at 12:45 p.m. Okay, so let's deal with our hour, which is the 12. So our little hand is going to point up to the 12. And now we have to do our minutes, which is 45. So we're going to count. Start with our 1 and count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and 45. So the 45 minutes is on the 9. So let's see if Miss Tiffany can draw her minute hand. Okay. So my little hand is pointing up to the 12 because it's in the 12th hour. And my big hand is pointing on the 9 because it's 45 minutes after 12. So that means the time is 12:45. And now we have to move over to what time of day it is, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. Well, anything between 12 o'clock and 5 o'clock is afternoon. Anything after 5 is in the evening. And remember, anything with the AM is going to be the morning. But this is 12:45 p.m. So it's not quite after 5 o'clock. So we're going to circle it's the afternoon. Okay, so that's what you should have on your paper so far. And now we're going to move down here to the bottom question. It says Brent puts price stickers on bags of cookies at 4:45 p.m. It says show the time on the clock. So we have to start with our hour, which is going to be the 4. So we're going to make our little hand point to the 4. And now we have to do our minutes, which is 45. So we're going to start with our 1 and count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and 45. The 9 is the 45-minute mark. So we're going to draw our maybe. And point it towards the 9. Little hand on the 4 because it's the 4th hour. Big hand on the 9 because it's the 45 minutes mark. So that clock reads 4:45. And now we have to decide if it is in the morning, afternoon, or evening. Okay, it's 4:45 p.m. It's not quite 5 o'clock yet, so we can't say that it's in the evening. We can't say that it's in the morning because it says PM, not AM. So that only leaves us one left, and that is the afternoon. And that's the one that you'll circle. So your paper should look a little bit like this. So now we'll move on to the next one. And this one we're going to be reading graphs. Maybe once Miss Tiffany gets it up there. There we go. Okay, and you'll have 2 sheets for Thursday and you'll have 2 sheets for Friday, but they're just reading graphs, so they're pretty simple. Okay, and this is where do students work. Okay, so we're gonna Zoom in on it there so you all can see. And let's go ahead and read the first question. And the first question says, what percentage of students work at a restaurant fast food location? Okay, so on our graph, once it clears up, okay, it's a little blurry, but we can see that 40% of our students work at a restaurant fast food location. So on our line, we're going to write 40%. Okay, you're going to write it just like that 40 up there. Miss Tiffany's look a little crazy. Okay, and for number 2, it says, do more students work in an office or clothing store? So we have to see. It says 12% works in the office and 18% works in the clothing store. Well, which one's the higher number? 18 is the higher number, so we're going to write that more students work in the clothing store. So down here, we're going to write clothing store. What percentage of students work at a grocery store? Okay, and there it is right there. So we found the grocery store, and what percentage does it say that our students work there? It says 24% of our students work at a grocery store. So that's our answer, 24%. So we're going to write 2, 4, and our percentage sign. Okay, and that one was pretty easy. You just had to find the what they were asking about on the graph and just read it. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. And this is question 4 and 5. Okay, still the same graph. Okay, so question 4 says, where do the most amount of students work? Okay, so which one do you think has the highest number? Is it 24, 18, 12, 6, or 40? Well, 40 is the biggest number, so that's going to be the one that we need to look at, and that one is restaurant and fast food. So that's what we're going to write. So we're going to write, Miss Tiffany's going to have to come over here. Slash, oh goodness. Fast food. Okay, so that's what you're going to write on that line, is restaurant / fast food, because that's where most of the students work. And it says, where do the least amount of students work? So this time we have to find what is the smallest number. So is that going to be the 24, 18, 12, 6, or 40? The 6. So that's going to be the recreation center. And 6 is our lowest number. So down here we're going to write recreation center. Okay, and that completes your Thursday worksheet. And you just read a pie chart. So let's go on to Friday. Okay. So this is a graph. It's a bar graph. Okay, the dark, I can barely see it on my iPad, but I know that you all can see it on your paper, but the very dark square up there is boys, and the lighter graph is girls. Okay, and this bar graph is called favorite items to buy. And you'll have 2 sheets that go along with this graph as well. Okay, so question number 1 says, how many more boys voted for electronics than girls? Okay, so here's our electronics right here. And it says, how many more boys voted for electronics than girls? Well, girls only voted for 3. So now we have to find out how many more, and boys voted for 6. So what we're going to do is we're just going to count up. 1, 2, 3. So 3 more boys voted for electronics than girls. Okay, so that was pretty easy. What is the total number of students who voted for shoes? Okay, so the boys voted 4 and the girls voted 5. So now we have to add those 2 together. And if you want to, down here, we can, if you want to do the dots, or if you just automatically know what 4 plus 5 is, that's fine. You can write your answer down. But we can also make X's. Well, maybe. We can make dots, because that's easier for me to do on my iPad. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5. Now we have to add 4 more. 6, 7, 8, 9. So Miss Tiffany made 9 dots. So that's your answer. What is the total number of students who voted for shoes? 9. And it says, which item got the least amount of votes? So that means which bar has the smallest? It looks like maybe candy's going to win. They have 3 and 1, which is 4. And everything else is going to add up to more than 4. So our smallest bar graph is candy. And that's what your paper should look like. Remember, on 2, all we did is we added 5 plus 4, and you got 9. Okay, that's all we did, and that's why we have the dots over here. It was just a basic addition problem. Okay, so let's move on to our second page on Friday. Okay, still the same graph, just 2 more questions. And then number 4 asks, which item got the most votes? So we're going to have to do a little bit of counting. Which one is the tallest? It's going to be our clothes with the girls. And the girls got a total of 7. But then we have to add on what the boys got, and they got 3. So let's make 7 dots right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And let's add 3 because that's the total number that the boys got. 1, 2, 3. So when we count all these dots together, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, Miss Tiffany got confused a little. So we're going to write a 10 right here. Okay, because that's the total. And over here we have 5 for girls and 4 for boys. So let's do our dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's do 4 for the boys. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to count those dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's our 9. Okay, in electronics, we have 6 for boys and 3 for girls. So let's make our dots. 6 for the boys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, okay, 3, 4, 5, 6. My stylist didn't want to cooperate with me. And 3 for the girls. So let's make 3 more dots. 1, 2, 3. And let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have a total of 9 for electronics. In candy, we have 1 for the boys. So we made our 1 dot. And 3 for girls. So let's make 3 more dots. And let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to write a 4 right here. So now that we've totaled up clothes, shoes, electronics, and candy, we can now find out which one got the most votes. So which one is the higher number? It's our 10. So down here we're going to write clothes. Okay. And it says, based on this data, will more boys or girls buy t-shirts? Okay, so t-shirts is in the clothes because it has like the little shirts and pants and dresses. And which one is higher? Is the boy graph higher or is the girl graph higher? It's the girls. So for our last question, we're going to write, girls, because more girls voted for clothes. Okay, so this is what your Friday paper should look like. You all didn't have to total up each graph. I just thought it would be good for some of our students to be able to see them totaled up so they can pick off of just a single number. And if you all need any help or have any questions, please contact me. And this is all of your math worksheets for this week. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye, guys.